Imagine this fashion week in Paris. Champagne flutes, velvet ropes, flashing lights, and clinking Hanselite. Every well-known star is present. They're taking pictures, editors are making notes. However, you know who isn't there? Meghan Markle. Yes, it's not a front-row seat scene. Not a single mention of her name on any invitation lists. And that quiet wasn't a coincidence. Look, with silk and sequins, fashion is like high-stakes gambling. It all comes down to who is in charge, who is seen, and where they sit. Additionally, Meghan was recently informed that gently, ruthlessly, to leave the table. Let's take a moment to go back in time. Whether Meghan looks well in high-end clothing is not the point of this. Everyone is aware she does. Clean royal chic is her style. In the past, she had enormous impact. However, something changed recently behind the scenes. The same company that previously pioneered trends like wildfire, Balenciaga, abandoned her. Not just them either. Silently, other A-list properties followed. Nothing, no shade, no drama. Additionally, in this nothing is loud in the industry. The situation is not only a case of, oh, maybe she didn't want to go. The PR spin is that she was, in fact, iced out. According to one report, her name was before it was removed from the list. Designers took a look at it and immediately said, nah, not this season. Inquiries were not even answered by some PR representatives. Others provided the traditional, we're full queue response, which is essentially a polite middle finger in the fashion industry. However, why? Why now? This is not an accident. The campaign is silent. This kind of exile is only observed in situations where the stakes are great and nobody wants to get engaged. And whether she realized it or not, Meghan entered a minefield. Okay, here are the opinions of insiders. Like any other power circle, the fashion industry loves to be in charge. Furthermore, Meghan is erratic. It's a lawsuit one week, a podcast the next, and then a Netflix doc. She produces heat. However, heat isn't necessarily a good thing for premium companies. They desire control, subtlety, and mystique. Meghan's picture has become air out of lightning. Too many headlines, too many opinions. Additionally, when your name begins to be used colloquially to refer to controversy, even when it's not your brand's retreat. Consider it this way, a fashion house is what you are. You spend $10 million on a performance. You want your collection, models, and brand narrative to be the center of attention. However, every headline becomes a royal soap opera when Meghan enters the picture. Drama is all that matters, not the attire or the craftsmanship. Additionally, for such noise turns into a liability in an industry that depends on perception to survive. This is when the darkness begins. According to some insiders, brands weren't the only ones making these decisions. There is rumored to be pressure from above. 1. The first no might have been whispered by a legacy house with strong ties to royalty and image protection, and everyone else simply did the same. Because when one gatekeeper shuts the door in the fashion industry, nobody wants to be the only one left in the dark. Meghan is not stupid either. She most likely anticipated this. After the freeze, her team apparently rushed, became apparent, attempting to change the narrative. They desired it to appear as though she was deciding not to go. Real talk, though, you can't turn down what you weren't asked to. This was not snobbery about fashion. It was a cold, calculating, and successful tactic. Markle Omega-style Paige's favorite received a harsh, no-words-needed rejection. Additionally, the method used, which was harsh in its style, just absence, no headline, no declaration. It is the most painful kind. Style doesn't shout when it whispers that it wants you gone. It doesn't invite, it becomes quiet. Silence is the weapon, just a gradual rubber with no drama or scandal. Meghan Markle didn't be barred from Paris, it wiped her from it. The industry also ensured that it appeared effortless. A fashion executive stated best, "She didn't need to be placed on our blacklist. We just stopped responding to emails." That's how delicate it is we're discussing. Don't get it wrong, though, this was not a passive action. It was executive, strategic, well-coordinated. PR managers and stylists each had a role to perform. Nobody desired to be a single brand, bound by the uncontrollable Duchess. Her crew was working hard behind the scenes. They contacted stylists she had previously collaborated with in the hopes of getting even a single partnership. But the results were indifferent. Courteous but empty. Simply put, one brand representative said, "We're giving quieter stories priority this season." It was all in that one cue. Noise is lethal in the fashion industry, and Omega was once the moment. Every designer wants authority over their story. Their gowns are meant to be more noticeable than the people wearing them. Them. However, when Meghan enters a room, the topic of conversation changes. The outfit is no longer important. It concerns the Netflix's contract, the royal rift, the lawsuit, the Duchess, and the constant headlines for companies that deal in delusion. Reality like that is poison. Fashion's kind of social death by exclusion, according to some insiders. It's also vicious. There are no burn bridges or public repercussions, only ghosting, done with grace. Additionally, since nobody speaks aloud, Meghan cannot retaliate without coming across as resentful or paranoid. If she raises her voice, they'll utter, "What are you discussing?" You were never placed on a blacklist, however, she is aware. Everyone is aware. It is the supreme power make a move. Don't let them in, without ever admitting it was rejected. The role of royalty in this situation is also discussed quietly, but not directly. For a long time, fashion has dabbled in royalty, elegance, the control brands, and the heritage. Royal patrons are not looking for drama, therefore they desire to attend class. And Meghan no longer matches that description with all of her headlines. Rumor has it that one house, a mainstay of traditional fashion, quietly spread the information. No invitations, no partnerships, not right now. Whether the goal is to avoid controversy or maintain royal links, the outcome is identical. Meghan is iced. Once it was so clean it was brutal. She wasn't turned away when she entered a room. She didn't even enter the room. No brand tags, no front row seats. School. Not one paparazzi photographer wore couture. Nevertheless, she was in Paris. She was present but out of sight of the cameras. That is the mechanism of exclusion. Experts can make you invisible without ever mentioning your name. This was more than just a fashion concern, though. This freeze-out is sending indications that extend well beyond the runway. Hollywood is observing. The press is observing. The investors are observing. Meghan's this year, a lifestyle brand was set to debut with luxury fashion and cosmetics partnerships, but those discussions have slowed. Some brands are, in fact, reassessing. Some people are waiting for the ideal moment, which is code for watching to see if she fades or rebounds. Even executives in streaming are wary. She isn't landing significant transactions. No big-name interviews. She is still present, of course, but around her, the energy has waned. It's not animosity, it's exhaustion. People are fed up with the cacophony, fed up with the sideshow. Additionally, the spotlight quickly fades when the audience grows weary. Meghan has undoubtedly been undervalued in the past. The ice is deeper this time, though. Not a single brand is turning away. The entire system is putting itself on hold. Additionally, in a sector that depends on momentum, even a lull can feel permanent. In the world of fashion, it's said that you're only as good as your last outfit. Front row. Meghan Markle's seat is freezing at the moment. This is more than just a style setback, though. It's known as recalibration. The Paris cold has crept into the larger sector, and everyone is attempting to solve the same problem. Can she still be banked? According to some sources, she was intended to be humbled by this freeze-out, an unstated check out her growing profile. Meghan had established herself as a brand apart from the royal apparatus, distinct from both Harry and Hollywood. That degree of autonomy, in particular, from a lady who doesn't follow the rules, which causes discomfort in some circles. Furthermore, power does not yell when it perceives a threat. It restricts access permanently and silently. Nevertheless, Meghan has always excelled at one area, the pivot. Whenever she is counted out, she reappears, from a fresh perspective. Suits, royalty, Netflix, and podcasts. She has a non-linear career path. It is shaped by resistance and is reactive. That uncertainty she is risky to underestimate because of her ability to frighten fashion houses. Now there's talk of her switching gears, shifting away from the cold couture circles of Europe and towards American names, companies with more daring missions and less formal customs. Consider Prabal Gurung, Ralph Lauren, and even rising eco-friendly designers who will do anything to increase her visibility. In the United States, Meghan continues to draw a large viewership. In contrast to its European counterpart, American fashion rival, who thrives on innovation. Where you're going is more important to them than where you've been. Now, however, the stakes are higher. Should she make a mistake, she runs the risk of actually fading if she introduces a product line that fails or takes a backward step without a plan. That's the harsh reality of fame. Either strategy is silence or a gradual demise, and nobody wants to be recalled as a headline spanning 3 seasons in the past. However, there's a feeling, particularly among people who have worked, that Meghan isn't finished with her. One, a former hairdresser, called her a chess player with stylish attire. She doesn't hurry. She studies. She awaits the opening on the Right. Furthermore, when she moves, it's purposeful. If she constructs her own fashion brand, rather than as a side endeavor, but as a genuine premium competitor that might fundamentally alter the story, the same homes that ignore them may eventually get together to work together. The tide turns that quickly. When relevance comes back, the public's perception will be the decisive element, not style, not palace whispers, but insiders, individuals. If viewers continue to click, continues to share, continues to observe, the brands will return with a vengeance. They always make money when there's a chance. Tochasot fashion loyalty is a fantasy. The only religion is relevance. Meghan is now familiar with this game. The quiet surrounding she is not new. She has previously seen it in tabloids, in the hallways of the castle, in offices with phony smiles. However, she understands how to end that silence as well. With presence, not with noise, owl-timed appearance, a headline that she controls, a return that doesn't inquire for approval. What will happen to her next? Well, perhaps she makes something out of herself. Own a media company, a new fashion house, an empire of living on her own terms. Perhaps she waits for the frost to dissipate, while everyone else settles in. If there's one thing, though we learned about Meghan Markle from history, this is it. She never remains absent for lengthy. As the doors shut, she constructs fresh ones. Additionally, when the fashion industry recognizes what it pushed away at last, she could not even respond to the